This is Sam McGranahan on Vans Warped Tour 2017 here with Pat from Anti-Flag. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here. We're in, where are we, West Virginia? Or no, we're in Virginia.
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach. I knew I was somewhere in Virginia. Yes.
Yeah. So, how is it being back on Warped again?
It's been pretty good. We're really excited to be out here with bands like War on Women and Sick of It All, and Municipal Waste is just rocking out there right before I came over, and Valiant Thor. So there's a lot of great bands. So it's a lot of fun.
Are there any newer bands that you're kind of really into right now that are on this tour?
Bad Cop is out, and this is my first time playing with them, so that's a lot of fun. Who else is out here that I'm missing? Big D and the Kids Table are out here. We haven't played with those guys for a long time, so it's good to see them as well.
So, Anti-Flag's a very politically driven band. Why, all the way back then, why did you guys decide that you wanted to make a band that had such a strong message behind it?
Well, we grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a city that has a long history of social justice and activism, from the union activity and the steel strikes of the 1830s all the way up till 2017. There's a lot of activism, a lot of people who work for social justice in Pittsburgh. So the music community has always been a community of activism in music. Even the rock bands and the hippie bands all have a social or political message, and we just thought that all music was like that, and we were very surprised when we left Pittsburgh and went and toured other places around the country that not all punk rock bands had a social or political message, and it was very surprising to us and sort of weird. So for us, or at least me personally, I grew up with the belief that if music didn't have that social element to it, it was bullshit and wasn't worth doing. So now, as I've gotten older, I've realized that there's room for all kinds of music. But yeah, so a lot of what brought us to the style of music that we play is the community we grew up in. Also, Justin's dad was an Irish immigrant, and there was a lot of struggle in Northern Ireland when he was there, so he brought that in. And my father, we talked about activism and politics a lot around the dinner table. So those things were all sort of came together to make us into the band that we are.
So, do you feel like, especially younger generations like kids in like high school and all that, do you feel like they've become more apathetic?
Um, I don't believe in uh, older people shitting on young people. I think that they are exactly the way they should be. I think that we had a certain set of conditions that led us to the type of music that we create in Pittsburgh. There's another group of young people who are coming up who are playing politically active music. So yeah, I don't think it's just young people are apathetic. I think that in the world there are groups of people who are apathetic, and there are groups of people who are active, and I like to focus on the ones who are active.
That's incredibly refreshing to hear.
Yeah, well, so this is the thing that I will say, it's fucking amazing to be me, because we drive around the country and fly around the world and play shows to people who think things can be different. So every night I'm in a room between 5 and 5,000, maybe 300,000, depending on what day it is, that of people who think that it doesn't have to be the way it is right now. So I have a much rosier view of the world because I see people actively trying to change it all the time. Whereas if you sit at home and talk to your uncle who's a racist, and you're like, that guy sucks, everybody sucks, nothing's going to change, I have information otherwise because of my experience.
You guys came out with an album in 2015. Is there any new music in the works that you can tell me about?
Yes, we just finished recording, and actually Justin's doing mixes right now in the truck. So yeah, we have a new record that's going to come out in the fall, and I can't tell you too much about it other than it's coming out in the fall, and it's fucking amazing.
So, in the current political climate right now, do you have anything really to say about that?
Um, well, I was just in the truck. We were just watching Jared Kushner is finally, hopefully, going to go down, and hopefully that will be a domino effect to get the whole administration down. That's what we're all sitting there holding, crossing our fingers. It's like the Super Bowl of activists right now, just waiting for that one thing that's going to do what we want, which will be to get rid of the whole Trump experience and put it all into the rearview mirror and make it into history. I don't, powerful people never go to jail. That's sort of the way it works. Um, Powerful people rarely give up power um, easily. So there's probably going to be a lot of struggle before we get rid of Trump. Um, but one of the things that Trump has done that is an issue that all of us can deal with in our own lives is that Trump has, through his bigotry, through his racism, through his sexism, he has allowed other closeted racists and sexists and bigots to come out, and that is problematic because we want them to stay in the closet. Most other people we want to come out of the closet, but bigots we want them to stay in the closet, and so when these people feel emboldened and empowered to speak their bullshit ideas of racism and sexism and bigotry, we need to be there to counter those ideas and say, you know what, that wasn't acceptable 3 years ago. It's not acceptable now. Your ideas are backwards. You're old, and hopefully you will die soon. And that's usually enough to keep them shut up.
Do you ever feel like, performing music because we do have such bullshit people in power, do you ever feel like what you're doing now is enough?
Well, it's never enough. It's never enough. But it's not our job to be enough. It's not any of our individual jobs to be enough. It's our jobs to connect with other people who feel the same way. Um, we learned from the revolutions in Egypt in Tahrir Square, where one woman said, "I'm going to go to the square and say that I think things can be different than the way they are." And then all these people came and joined her because they felt the same way. They just didn't have the wherewithal to go and say that they're going to do it. So when you and I and our friends, we go and take to the streets, things change. Things don't change from the top down in any culture. Things change from the bottom up. And I'm a firm believer that when you put 100,000, 200,000 people in the streets in Washington, D.C., things will change. Until then, voting, things don't really change. But when you actually put boots in the streets, people in power become afraid and things actually change.
So, how do you feel knowing that younger generations like myself listen to your music and feel incredibly empowered and then kind of want to go out there and make a change in this world?
Uh, I think that's awesome. If that if that happens, that's great. When I was a young person, I listened to bands like The Clash. I listened to bands like The Avengers. I listened to bands from the community like Submachine and Osrot and Bad Genes, and I felt empowered. And I felt like, yeah, these 300 kids can change the world because we were at the rock show. And now we are another link in that chain to hopefully keep that going. But hopefully there's going to be a much better band with a much better message, with a much better, more handsome, more beautiful, who are going to go out and um, take the next step in that process.
Do you feel like there are any bands in Warped Tour right now that are kind of doing that?
Yeah, War on Women are out there fucking making shit happen. They're fighting the battle for women's rights and rights for everybody, and that's awesome. That's great.
Thank you so much. It was really great talking
All
to
right,
you.
thank you. That was awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Did we get your questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.